ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Wednesday, January 29th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop is 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. We've got a lot to get into today. Of course, the Thundering Herd getting set for its matchup with Georgia State. That's coming up tomorrow. We're going to have that game for you right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Also on 93.7 The Dog. And if you're heading to the game, don't forget, tune in a little early. We've got our pregame coming up at 6 o'clock, but I'll be on the air live from the Henderson Center at 5 p.m. So I'm excited to get back over to the Henderson Center for a few hours. Watch Marshall basketball with you tomorrow. We're going to also hear from Coach Jackson in just a few minutes as well. So we've got that coming up, and we've got your text coming up as well. So we're going to hear from you. Get really crazy with whatever you want to talk about today. We are pretty wide open for the show today. So it's going to be more of you drive some of the conversation today. So we're going to open that up early. And again, our text line brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. And a couple of things I want to get into, and we've got some things to highlight a little bit later on. But, one of the things I want to talk about is the story that came out, USA Today. Ohio State lost money on athletics last year. Can you believe that? Ohio State. Doesn't the athletic department just print money? The university's athletic departments combined, everything combined. And this is, again, according to USA Today. The university's athletic department reported $37.7 million operating deficit to the NCAA for the fiscal year ending in June of 2024. What is that coming from? Well, you've got coaching compensation that went up, royalties, sponsorships, and contributions declined, but money not coming in, and you're spending more. Ohio State, in this report, spent $292.3 million. That is the second highest total recorded for a Division I institution since the NCAA's reporting system started in 2005. That trails only the $325 million that the University of Texas at Austin, you're familiar with the University of Texas at Austin, spent in 2024. But Texas at least has a slim surplus. It has a little surplus. Things are okay so far. You're not spending everything you're bringing in and then some. But that's a number that just I scratch my head over. $37.7 million you're operating in the hole. And that's not going to change, I don't think, anytime soon, because compensation is going to go up. You have student athletes that now demand compensation. Before, it was, okay, this name, image, and likeness is going to give these student athletes an opportunity to go out and profit based on celebrity, fame, the fact that I'm the starting quarterback at the local university. I can go out and make some money. And, of course, if you're a national program like in Ohio State, you can make a lot more money. And that is turned into this compensation system where we have agents. And now you have trusts that have been formed. Are you giving to – and I'm sure that there's a long list of things you can give to. Are you giving to the scholarship fund? Are you giving directly to the athletic department? The booster club? Are you giving to the trust now? Got to have money in the trust for these student athletes. Got to have money to run the athletic department. Got to have money earmarked for your particular sport. So athletic department needs something in general. Okay, you're donating there. Basketball team needs something. Okay, you're donating there. Scholarship fund always needs funded. Okay, got to donate there as well. A lot of my perks are tied to that. got to donate to the trust now because, it's going to cost money. As the previous coach famously said, there's only Tudor's Biscuit NIL deals here. There's no NIL money here at Marshall University. So there's so much that's going to start racking up. And are we going to get to a point where it's going to break under its own weight? If a program like Ohio State is going to be operating with a deficit, now how can a program like Marshall compete? Deficit spending here from the Ohio State University. I mean, what did it get you? It got you a national championship, obviously. But what is the price worth? And will this be the norm that college athletic departments are going to run in a deficit? How much of that is going to be a drain on some of the other programs at the university? Is there a way to kind of tighten this up a little bit? I mean, it's one thing a program like Marshall maybe runs at a deficit because it's a smaller program. It's a smaller institution. It's not a national program the way that a program like Ohio State is. It's not in a national conference the way that Ohio State is in the Big Ten. That's a national conference. I mean, they're all national conferences, but that's a national brand, the Big Ten. The Sun Belt, it's a nice brand. Maybe it's a regional brand. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. It's got some appeal outside of the region, and so there's some value there, but it's not going to attract the eyeballs that the Big Ten attracts. It's not going to bring you the revenue that the Big Ten brings, and that's including television deals. That's including, partnerships. And so you got to be careful with the budget. But you have Ohio State here spending $292.3 million on athletics, operating with a $37.7 million deficit. I'm curious what that looks like. Now, how do you pay that down? Okay, you're going to have to donate more. And again, you're going to have to pay coaches more. You're going to have to compensate athletes. What about facility maintenance? You're going to have to do all of this. It's becoming more expensive even now to run an athletic department. And of course, the money stops. If you're not winning, the money stops. You got to win to keep that money coming in. Boosters aren't happy. You're not doing it right. Boosters aren't happy. Man, money starts to kind of dry up a little bit. Maybe you lose sponsorship opportunities. Maybe you lose a booster. Royalties. You lose a lot of that if the money isn't coming in. If you're not winning, how do you win? Well, you got to spend money. It's interesting to follow, and I'm curious how this is going to play out, if this is just maybe a blip or, Ohio State decided, okay, we're going to have to go all in here. We're going to get that national championship in football. And I'm sure not all of this is football. And how much of it is football, and how much of a detriment will this be to the other sports? The other sports always seem to be operating under, I don't want to say a deficit based off of what goes to football, but there could be a little bit more of a backlash here. Do you have to have all these athletic programs? What makes the university money? What makes the university profitable? What can you get away with? Those conversations are probably going to be coming sooner than later. Do you take a bowl game where you lose money? Do you take an opportunity to go play a postseason football game if there's a deficit attached to it? There's so many things we could talk about with this. So that's something I want to get into, not just today, but throughout the week and throughout the upcoming months, how these programs are going to deal with the rising cost of college athletics and with the revenues not as much coming in. Also, Mike Green's doing some Mike Green things. We're going to talk about that when we continue. We're going to get our text in 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Some good news coming out of the Sun Belt today for a couple of student athletes for the Thundering Herd. All of that coming up. We'll hear from Coach Jackson as well. That's coming up as Marshall's getting set for Georgia State. We'll do all of that with you when we continue on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talkline, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Thanks, Dave. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, 10:06, right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That's our text line brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop for today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So I'm sure you've seen it by now. If you haven't been on social media, that's what I'm here for today. Mike Green just doing some Mike Green things. Now, we know Mike is highly touted right now, possibly going first round. That's been the word. No lower than second. He probably is already a first rounder. But if you haven't seen the video today, Mike Green, now he's getting ready for Senior Bowl. And there's a video, and there's several angles of it. It's even better to watch in all the angles. Mike Green overpowered Josh Connerly Jr. He's Oregon's first-team All-American. And Mike didn't just push him. He overpowered him. There was no stopping Mike. And so that got a lot more attention. And so his stock is continuing to rise, and people are noticing him a lot more. It's not as if he was just, who is this guy? He already had a name for himself. I mean, after all, he's the NCAA sack leader, in the season. Had the most sacks this season. And so people are paying more attention to him now. And if he has a good performance in the Senior Bowl, his draft stock is probably going to go a little higher. How high can he go? Now, he's not a first round number one pick. That usually goes to some stupid position. I don't know, say quarterback. But he's going to be a high draft pick. There's going to be a team that needs defense. There's going to be a team that needs someone that has pro capabilities. And that team's going to dial up Mike Green and probably be very happy with him. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. Again, that's on social media. Just there are some interesting titles out there. Mike Green murders a duck, something like that. Interesting how fast and viral that went today in the sports circles. So good on him doing what he does best, just crushing people. Marshall basketball coming up tomorrow. We're going to have that for you right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930 as the Herd in the rematch against Georgia State. And one of the players that we have talked about as of late is Kai Spears. He's been in the games a little bit more. He's had opportunities to go out there, and he's made a real difference, I think. Just looking at how he plays, what he brings to the table, he brings a good energy. And I think that we've seen a lot of the chemistry surrounding the success these last few games. Some of that has to be from that energy that Spears brings. And Coach, when I talked to him about it, he discussed what he brings to the table.
Yeah, he does. He brings it every day. He comes in and he works. One, he's a hard worker. And two, he's an energy guy. I thought he and Wyatt both bought good energy this past weekend. He and Wyatt, they bought the energy against Georgia State, and then we have a guy like Jay Gibbs step up and bring that same kind of energy Georgia Southern. So, those guys, they're team first guys. They don't complain, not at least to us they don't. When they don't get their number called, they just stay ready. And again, with this team, you never know. We've always had the next man up mentality. So now Nutter's out. So now Nutter's minutes has to go somewhere, and Kai's been doing a really good job.
And as just alluded to, team chemistry has been a big part of the recent success for the Thundering Herd. And so Coach Jackson earlier this week talked about how the team is coming together.
We got the one under our belt, and then I thought we really grew up this last game, because Georgia Southern, they came to win. They didn't just come to play the game. I can tell their intensity from the tip. They had a nice crowd there. I know they just opened the arena, but that was the biggest crowd they've had. They called it on the hill. So they came to win the game. And, you know, our guys, they took their best shot. You know, they made their runs. They had the one kid, he had hit, I don't know, 2 or 3 threes on the year. He had 4 against us. The little guard had 28. So they came to win. You could just, I can tell by their energy, not with just the players, the coaching staff, the fans. And I thought our guys took their best shot and answered the call and made winning plays when winning mattered. So proud of our guys for that.
That's Coach Jackson from earlier this week. Now, one of the things he was asked about, just some of the intangibles that we might not see, but have been, in his estimation, crucial to the team's success.
You know what? I just think these guys are connected. You know, we have a long way to go. And, you know, it's, like you said, halfway there, but I think our guys are connected, you know, and I think it's starting to show on and off the court. Again, they cheer for one another. You look at the Georgia State game, all right? Zane and Nate were on the bench a lot of the second half, and I showed the guys film in Georgia of those guys being the 2 biggest cheerleaders. You know, there were no pouty faces. There were no feeling sorry for themselves. They didn't do anything wrong. The other guys are just playing pretty well. But I play those type of moments and show the team that if we stay connected like this, then we can do special things. We talk about writing our own story. You know, we don't get caught up in other people writing our story for us, right? We want to write our own story. And how do you do that? You come in, you work hard, you win every day, you stay connected, and then you give yourself and your team a chance to be successful.
And finally, we've alluded to this week. Coach Jackson has challenged not only the team, but he challenged the fans as we go into this game tomorrow night. He said to the team the other day, if you want to see a crowded arena, you want to see a full cam, you got to win. You got to win this game tonight on the road. And so the team won the game on the road. And so now he's challenging the fans to come out, support this team, as Marshall has won 3 straight on the road. And Marshall has put itself in contention to at least be one of those top 4 seeds, if not win the conference outright. There's still an opportunity. We've got several games to go, and it is very doable. And so Coach Jackson making that challenge, he talked about how and why he did that, and then challenging the fans to show up tomorrow.
I did. I told him that before the game. I said, you know, I played at Marshall. I've been coaching at Marshall for a while now. And I said, you guys want a big crowd when we get back home? Win this one. And I went back and forth whether I was going to say that or not because I don't want to put the pressure, that kind of pressure on the guys. But I did. I said that before the game. And it's important. You know what? It's important for our fans to show up and support these guys. They're working really hard. And they're landing on the line night in and night out to represent Marshall in a first-class manner, not just on the court but off the court. You know, I got a text message from one of our parents, like I don't know, 2-page long, just bragging on our guys and saying from one of the ushers, saying how special they were and how respectful they were, and said, "Look, we deal with a lot of teams, and you know that's not normal." So again, that's part of the stuff that we don't really share. That's behind the scenes. But these guys, I mean, they represent Marshall in a first-class manner, and they deserve the support. They deserve it. So, you know, I did. I challenged them, but I challenged our team. So I've always been one of doing our part. You know, we're going to be out tomorrow on campus. We're going to be out Wednesday as a staff. You guys probably didn't know before the season. We had posters. We were at the student center. We were at the dorms. We were doing all of this to try to get some student engagement. So we'll do our part. We're not going to sit back and say, hey, come support us. No, we're going to meet you halfway. And I think, you know, these guys have proven on the court, you know, in this short season that, hey, we're going to play hard. We're going to try to play the right way. We're going to fight, win, lose, or draw.
That is Coach Cornelius Jackson, the Herd getting set to take on Georgia State. That game coming up tomorrow. We'll have it for you right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Also on 93.7 The Dog. I'll be live at the Henderson Center starting at 5:06 p.m. So a full night of Herd basketball. And if you can't go, we've got you covered. Again, right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Welcome back to this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Let's go back to the text line. Texter asks a question, Paul. I might have missed the news. Has Cole Pennington signed with anyone yet? Saw he went back in the portal. Any chance he might come back to Marshall? The last time I saw anything on Cole Pennington, he had signed with Gardner-Webb, and that was back on the 14th. Gardner-Webb put that out, and Cole reposted it on his social media. And so that's the last I have heard of him anywhere near the transfer portal. Now, I don't know if he would be coming back. Obviously, a lot of people are rooting for him to be the quarterback. And, of course, his father, one of the all-time great quarterbacks at Marshall University, Chad Pennington, still a beloved son of Marshall. He's given a lot of money to the university. He's been a part of the university for years. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people that want him to be the quarterback, have an opportunity to lead the Thundering Herd and have that career maybe similar to Chad, be the next Pennington to lead the Thundering Herd to a championship. And I just don't think I see it. Cole is a good quarterback. I just don't know if he could take the Thundering Herd to a Sun Belt championship. And I think he understood that maybe his place on the roster, where he was in the pecking order, maybe he didn't think that he had a future. So he puts himself in the transfer portal. And, of course, you put yourself in the transfer portal after the coach leaves. There was a mass exodus, not sure about what the program is going to look like. So he lands at Gardner-Webb, and that'll be good for him. I think he'll thrive and excel there. With Marshall, I think it's going to be wait and see. Right now, I know the recruiting class and the transfer portal getting rave reviews by all of the services that you pay good money to get the inside scoop on this stuff. And so we'll see. Do you want Cole to come back? Would you want Cole Pennington to come back? Even knowing that he might not be the guy, would you like to see Cole back in uniform for the Thundering Herd? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. Is there any player out there that you would go right now and say, look, we know you had to leave because you weren't sure, but come back? If I could give you one, I give you the magic pass, you can convince one guy to come back. Just one. You don't get a whole bunch of them. You just get one. I can only do one. Which player that hit the transfer portal would you use that magic pass and bring back? Think about that. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Our text line, again, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. Hey, we got some good news to talk about. Marshall softball's Brooklyn Ehrlich, a redshirt junior, named the 2025 Sun Belt Conference Preseason Player of the Year. Ulrich led the team with a .349 average, 69 hits, 48 RBI last season, earning preseason accolades like being named the number 84 overall player nationally and the 5th ranked second baseman. She was also named to the All Sun Belt Conference first team and the NFCA All Central Region first team. In Sun Belt only games last year, Ulrich hit .451, 11 home runs, had a conference high. You ready for this? .988 slugging percentage. She also hit 2 grand slams. The first Marshall player to do that since 2007. Her fielding percentage, .971 at second base with 116 putouts and 100 assists. And right now, Marshall can use her. Thundering Her was picked 9th. The team had a .315 batting average last year. Now second in conference. The team tied for 9th and made an appearance in the Sun Belt quarterfinal. I think this is a giant sleeping right now. This is a sleeping giant. Now you've got a year under your belt. Your Coach Z, you got another year of experience doing this. You know you have the support. Softball is one of those sports that has the support of fans, the university. I think being picked 9th, maybe not the best. I would use it to motivate myself. If you're picked 9th, look, this is what they think of you. If you need something, if you need the Michael Jordan method of motivation, I would do that. I would find slights all the time. Just to self-motivate. I would find something little and I would make that molehill a mountain. I would absolutely look, they thought we were 9th. And of course, you got to go out there and prove it. You have to actually go out there and win and prove it and get some wins and show up. And I think this team will be doing that. So I'm excited. We got baseball, of course, coming up as well very soon. A lot to talk about there with a team in its second season at its fairly new baseball field. So baseball is poised to do better. You've had some time now to recruit to that stadium. You can actually bring recruits in now, and you don't have to drive them everywhere but the baseball park. You've heard the stories. I've heard the stories. I've been told this. This is all anecdotal, but there have been times where parents have driven by just to kind of get a lay of the land. Let's see what, hey, Marshall's interested in us. Let's see what that's about. Seen where Marshall plays and just turned around like, no, this isn't happening. We're not doing this. You don't have that problem now. Absolutely do not. Instead, if anything, now it's going to be more on coaching because you got the facilities. Everyone's got facilities. Now you've got equal facilities. So what's recruiting going to look like? What's baseball, NIL going to look like? How do you compete? And you're in a competitive league as well, the Sun Belt. So that's going to help you and hurt you at the same time because if you don't have a good team, you're going to get exposed real quick in this league. So that's what's interesting me a lot more now is, okay, you got the ballpark. You have an opportunity to recruit to it. It's not something that's just on paper. Here it is. It's real. And so you're going to have to be able to bring in good players. You're going to have to figure out how to cope with a transfer portal world, an NIL world, but you've got facilities now. And facilities were the thing holding you back. Everybody's got facilities. You had to have facilities as well. Everyone had them. So now you have that as no longer a bullet point on why you don't go to Marshall. Okay, check that off. And you can compete with the other schools you're recruiting against as well. Hey, don't go to Marshall. Yeah, they play at the YMCA. Don't go to Marshall. It's really bad there. And I think that's one of the few things that Marshall finally just got right that has been wrong for so long. I mean, there's things that need fixing still, and that's another day. But baseball was one of the big ones. Division I baseball program. Now you have a Division I caliber baseball park, and it's going to be a time now to watch this program grow. That's the hope anyway. You don't build that baseball stadium and settle for middle of the pack. That's not what that was built for. You built that so you can compete and win, and so you're going to see a lot more push towards baseball. And softball as well. You know, softball is one of those programs where Marshall's been historically good at, and you hope that continues. Tennis has been good as well for John Mercer. He has another player earning Player of the Week honors. We'll talk about that when we continue. And our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
Final segment of today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour is going to be 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Good news today for John Mercer and his squad as another honor coming his team's way. This time in Emma Vanderheyden. She was named the Sun Belt Women's Tennis Player of the Week. She went 4-0 last weekend. She won 2-0 at doubles, and she also went 2-0 at singles. She was number 1 doubles, and she was number 2 singles. She also clinched the doubles point against EKU, and she won her singles matches in straight sets. Hers going to play Wake Forest, 10 a.m. Sunday. Going to be up in Barbersville for that one. So congratulations to Coach Mercer and, of course, for Emma winning Sunbelt Tennis Player of the Week honor. So it's always good to win things. Absolutely. It's a nice recognition, and so we are excited for that. Hey, look, tennis team's good. Tennis team's going to be competing for a championship. If not the winner of the league, it's going to be second. That's how good this league is right now. I think that's how good Marshall can be in this league. So I'm looking for a championship. I think tennis might be the next championship. Maybe championship in softball, but I think tennis is going to be the next championship. And I bet it might be, you know what? Let's just go ahead and right now, early prediction. Tennis wins the Sun Belt this year. Tennis wins the Sun Belt. Basketball comes close. Depending on how this format works and the battle royal type scenario here, the bracket, men's basketball has a really good shot if Marshall can keep itself above water, top 2, top 3. Technically, if you're 1 or 2, you got 2 games. If you're 2 or 3, you got 3 games. You stay in that top 4. You win the regular season championship, you got to win 2 games, and you go to the NCAA tournament, okay? Neutral 4 against a team that might be a little gassed, depending on how some of the lower teams do in the division. Might have a team that's played 6 or 7 days, right? You might have an opportunity there. So it's important you win those conference games. It's important that Marshall has a big crowd coming up on Thursday, wins its game against Georgia State, continues to push for the top spot. You get an opportunity here in the next few games, and then you got to go on the road and prove that you can do it again, that it wasn't just a fluke. So you gotta win those games, because if not, you're going to be playing a lot longer in the tournament. Texture says, Paul, I'm enjoying the baseball talk. Cole Pennington is gone, but if he returns, he could be the guy if the coaches make the guy. Make him the guy. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, absolutely. He could be the guy. I just think that where he's at now, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the big man on campus. he's going to thrive there, and that might be the best thing for him. He's going to have more opportunity, more reps, leading the team, playing more meaningful football games. I think that's the better path for him. But if he came back, would he get those meaningful reps? Would he get to be the leader of the football team? And is it because he's good enough or he's a Pennington? And I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's going to thrive at Gardner-Webb. That's going to be an advantageous situation for him because he gets to play more. As far as baseball talk is concerned, absolutely. I'm excited for this season. We have reason to talk about baseball now. We have this multi-million-dollar baseball stadium that opened up last year. Absolutely need to talk more about baseball because the university has made it important now. Instead of burying head in the sand for so long, the university finally did something. The athletic department did something finally. And that's not to say the previous administrations didn't want to do something. It's just finally everything got put together in the right order. So, yeah, we're going to have more baseball talk. Texture says, Paul. Okay, I can't read that on the air. But, yes, thank you for telling me. Thank you for telling me. Appreciate that. Absolutely. I got to read these things first. Sometimes I look at these and I start reading and I have to remember, no, you need to proofread these first. So you can text in as well. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. You can tell it's casual day around here. Almost every day is casual day here. Our text line brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. So I'm excited to see what this team looks like. And, of course, with baseball, whoever made the schedule, whoever that person was, it's so terrible this team's got to go to Hawaii. That is terrible. That's just absolutely atrocious. On February 14th, this team's going to be playing in Hawaii. That's just ridiculous. Come on. Just let's travel to Hawaii. And then going to be playing on February 21st at Georgia Tech. So you're going to fly from Hawaii. You're going to play on Sunday, the 16th at Hawaii. Then you've got a few days turnaround. Come home. Do laundry. Get a couple of workouts in maybe. Head back on the road. Play Georgia Tech. And then, finally, on February 28th, you get to open up at Jack Cook Field. By the way, we're going to have that game for you. We're going to have that opening series, and then, of course, we're going to have our Saturday showcase right here on ESPN 94.1 at AM 930. So looking forward to that, and we'll be at the Jack every home game on Saturday. We'll have the WVU game as well. So the home game against WVU, we'll have the opening series, we'll have all your Saturday series. So looking forward to that. Baseball back on the radio right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, the Herds in action taking on Georgia State. We go on the air at 6 o'clock. You can listen to that also on 93.7 The Dog. And then I'll be over at the Henderson Center at 5:06. We'll do the show from there. It's always a great chance to catch up with a couple of people live at the Henderson Center. So I'm not sure who we're going to have booked exactly just yet, but we're going to work on that tonight. And tomorrow we'll have everything for you starting at 5:06. So if you want to keep your radio locked, just tune in 5:06. We'll take you all the way to the game and then afterwards. And, of course, if you can't make it, you can listen to it on the radio or download the app and you can stream. Head over to our website now, 937thedog.com. Get the streaming app there. Get our streaming app at WRVC.com. We've got you covered all across the social media and airwaves. I think we're about done. We are about done on the show here. We end on a positive note as the Thundering Herd in action tomorrow, taking on Georgia State. Can Jalen Spear light it up again for the Thundering Herd? We're going to find out. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I do appreciate it. I'll be back with you tomorrow from the Henderson Center. We'll get you set for Marshall basketball. Until then, have a great night. Broadcasting from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, and watch at Dave & Buster's in the Huntington Mall. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. WRBC, W231BS Huntington.